Today in the shop we have a 2002 Volkswagen Beetle. It's a 2.0 liter engine. I don't know the letter code there. I don't think that's relevant to our repair. Not the nicest vehicle. It's got some tape here on the window and it's kind of, the door panels are kind of apart. And the customer's concern is that it starts and dies like it has an immobilizer problem. So I'm going to start the car, and you see there it starts and dies, and the immobilizer light's flashing. Let's do it one more time. The starter makes a turkey cackle noise, which it doesn't have nothing to do with the customer's concern. Kind of has an exhaust leak too, but we're mainly concerned with that immobilizer problem. Immobilizer light flashing and it starting and dying. So these are the keys that we got with this vehicle, and Bob called these Wish keys. Now I think that means they called them Wish keys because they come from Wish.com or something like that. And so we just need to know if they have a chip in them. I'm being careful not to drop anything out of it. But if you look inside there, there would be a capsule in there, and there's nothing in that one. Now, I'm not going to take the other one apart because I've tried both these keys and neither one of them run the car. So I'm going to try and make this one work, and we'll go from there. And I guess while we're going to get the chip, we'll take a quick tour of my junk. This is a transmission I'm rebuilding here, and that's the daily driver or parts car. There's a series of videos on it. I still haven't finished the car. And there's my Porsche 75 914. It's a run and driving car, although I have a few things taken apart on it. And this is my 75 Bug. There's a TDI wagon flip car. There's my lawnmower. And back here in the storage room here we have our key machine. And we can cut Volkswagen keys. And in here somewhere I've got some chips. Oh, there it is. Come on out of there. It's hard to do with one hand. See if I can open this box with one hand. Got exactly one chip left. I'll have to reorder some more of those. And all we do is put the chip in there. As long as this works out, I'll put a little dab of glue in there to hold it in place because you don't want it rattling around or falling out. But for now, I'm just going to close it up and we'll program the key and see if we can make it work. Okay, the program we use on this is Vw, and you have to first select which ECU you're using. ECU is not engine control unit, it's electronic control unit, and on this one it should be Magna Morelli after 2001 since this is a 2002. And then you connect to the selected ECU. And it says ECU not found, and of course that's because I didn't turn the key on like a dummy. And so let's connect selected ECU, and it should go through some processes and actually show you that it's connected, and it did. It says okay, go ahead. Sometimes with with this software you have to try a couple times. It's almost like a procedure to try twice because it almost never connects the first time, and this one it did connect the first time. So then we read the pin, it goes through some processes, and it'll pull the SKC, the secret key code, out of the instrument cluster, and our secret key code is 7773, and it says please wait 1 minute until the dash is reset. We're going to set a timer and wait 1 minute. Okay, so we've waited a minute, and I'm going to push stop action here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the key off and back on. And of course the immobilizer light's still flashing because we haven't programmed it. All we've done is pull the key, the SKC out. And then we of course want to connect to the selected ECU again. It's still selected from the last time. And then we want to program a new key and put in our SKC of 7773. And if you have more than one key to program, we could put 2 in there. I might need to program his other key, but I would assume his other key don't have a chip in it either, and I don't have another chip, so I'm just gonna put 1 in for now. And I always click erase old keys. I think it erases the old keys whether you click that or not. And I also always use the default channel 21. I've never switched it to channel 1. But if I had a problem, I might try channel 1. Then we're going to click OK. And what should happen is the immobilizer light should flash a few times. It'll give us some confirmation that stuff is happening over there, and then the immobilizer light should stop flashing. So it's going through the process. It gives you some confirmation. Test OK, programming OK. It seems like it's going through the motions. If you had a second key at this time, you would turn the first key off, pull it out, put the second key in, and then turn the key on. Now let's see if the immobilizer light went out. And it did not. So I assume that means it's an unsuccessful attempt. We're going to go ahead and turn this off and turn it back on. And the immobilizer light's still flashing. I'm going to go ahead and try and start it. Although that's pointless, it's certainly going to start and die. Okay. Okay, so I've decided to try the other channel, and so we're just going to go through the process here again. Magnum Morelli after 2001, and connect the selected ECU. And we already have the secret key code, so we don't need to do that again. We'll just go straight to program a new key, enter in our secret key code of 7773. Erase old keys, and we're going to try channel 1. Click OK. Goes through the process. Command not accepted. Okay. So obviously channel 1 is not appropriate for this one. Okay, so we've tried programming this a couple different ways, and it has not done anything. And so we're going to continue the diagnostic process by our normal procedure of doing an auto scan. I'll pull up the auto scan and show you in just a second. Okay, we have our auto scan up, and inside our engine computer, of course, we have an engine start blocked by immobilizer trouble code P1570. This engine speed sensor trouble code is concerning, but since the car does start up and die, I'm not going to concern myself with that right now. Obviously, we have an immobilizer problem. The light is flashing, car starts and dies. Engine speed sensor must work at least enough to start the car for it to run and then die. This may result in an engine dying problem as the sensor heats up or something along those lines, or maybe somebody just unplugged it at some point and it triggered a trouble code. I don't know. This car's kind of been through hell, but all I really want to do is get the car running. Then as we scroll down, we have a voltage supply at terminal 30, but what I'm concerned with is what's in the instrument cluster. Tons of codes in the airbag module. It is important to note which modules are communicating and which ones aren't, because if there was a communication problem between modules, then maybe the engine computer might not be receiving the OK to run signal from the instrument cluster. But as we go down here to the instrument cluster, we have 1128 immobilizer pickup coil. Now, this may be our whole problem, why the key won't program. It's complicated by the fact that somebody bought keys with no chips in them, but if the pickup coil isn't working, it isn't going to receive the signal from the chip in the key, and it obviously ain't going to be able to program the chip in the new chip in the key either, because that's what it's done with. So, and we also have a key signal too low trouble code. So let me switch to the camera, and we will talk some about how the immobilizer system works.
Yep.
Okay, inside our chip, you saw it inside the key, there's a little capsule. There is a small coil, and then there's some electronics. I don't know what to write it, but I'm just going to put some X's. And that's all inside the little capsule. And this coil provides wires to those electronics. Now, that capsule sits inside the key, and the key goes into the ignition slot. I'm going to call that the ignition slot, and the key would go into there. But around there is the pickup coil that we have the trouble code for. Some people might call this an antenna, and they also might consider there to be an antenna in here. But inside there's a coil or a winding of wires, and those wires go to the instrument cluster. Instrument cluster. I'm going to draw a vague representation of a speedometer with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 mile per hour. That's a fast one there. And inside the instrument cluster these wires go. And understand the instrument cluster is a fully self-diagnostic computer. You can check trouble codes, you can look at measuring block data, you can program things like the secret key code and stuff like that. But the way this works is it pushes some amperage through these wires here. And when you run amperage through a coil, it makes a magnetic field. So I'm going to make a vague representation of a magnetic field here. And what you have to understand is if you push electricity through a coil, you get a magnetic field. So as you push that magnetic field through this coil, I'll make it bigger here, so it goes inside this coil, which is inside our capsule or inside our immobilizer chip. As you push a magnetic field through a coil, magnetic field, that's a magnetic field, through a coil, you get electricity. So that electricity powers these electronics in order to send out a radio frequency to the instrument cluster. And then I believe that's received through this same coil here. That radio frequency is received through this same coil, which is, can you go over here? Which is the immobilizer pickup coil or the antenna. Immobilizer pickup coil or antenna. Go back over here. So it sends out a number. That number may not be. And that number may not be. And that number is, let's say, 7773, like what we got out of our car. So the instrument cluster receives that 7773. And it likes that 773 because at some point it's been programmed 7773. And so if this number received through the radio frequency matches this number, then it gives the OK to start signal through a communication data bus wire to the engine computer. There's our engine computer, and there's our communication data bus wire. And the engine computer has also been programmed with that 7773. So, when our engine computer runs, we start the car, it runs the engine for a brief moment, and then the engine dies. Okay, so what you're doing when you're programming it is our laptop is hooked into the instrument cluster. And we're programming this chip through the instrument cluster. I believe we're programming it with the 7773. And so we go in and it activates the sequence in here, and that through radio frequency and pulses that give us power, it programs this chip, because this chip will only program one time. Once you've programmed it, it's got this in it, it'll never have anything else. So you can't use a used key or a used chip ever. You can't ever program them again. Once they're programmed to a car, they have to stay with that car for eternity. Unless you change the instrument cluster, the engine computer. Maybe somebody can find a way around it. Or, of course, there's the option of immobilizer delete in some cars. So when we go to program it, it has to use our antenna or our immobilizer pickup coil, as we mentioned right there. So the first thing we need to check, since we have that trouble code, is this immobilizer coil plugged in? So let's go look at it. So luckily somebody has this car apart because it's kind of in rough shape. So we'll go over to the car. And that this black portion right here that goes around the key, that's our pickup coil. And right here is where it plugs in. And so we can see there it looks like it's plugged in. I was kind of hoping it wasn't plugged in and it'd be a simple diagnosis. Anything that would make it not connected to our instrument cluster would make it not only not connect, but it would make it not program. So I don't think that looks quite right. I thought it was plugged in, but it looks like it may not be all the way plugged in. The inside of that does not look that great. I don't know what that spot of stuff is, but I'm going to try and clean that out. And let's look inside the connector. That's going to be kind of hard to see. I'm going to go get my new borescope and we can get a better view inside there to see what it looks like. Okay, so I got the new borescope out and I'm going in there to try and look inside there, and I can see a problem. There it is. It's kind of blocked by this wiring harness here, but as I go in here, you can see the terminals of that are bent off and wanged out. That's the scientific term, wanged out. And that's why it isn't plugging in all the way. We might be able to straighten those. You can see one of them's kind of bent off to the upward part of the screen, and the other one's almost perfectly straight, so it's hard to see, especially when I get a wiring harness in the way. But they're definitely bent over, definitely not making connection, and so maybe I can get those straightened out and get some connection to from our instrument cluster to our antenna, or should I call it a pickup coil, and maybe we can get this car to program at that point. Okay, I'm going to try and clean that scum off the tip of the connector. And then I'm going to get up in there and see if I can straighten this thing. It's really, really hard to see and get up in there. But fortunately for us, we didn't have to take any of this stuff apart. Can you pan around the car and kind of show them the beautiful condition this car is in?
Definitely a junkyard find.
That was easier than I thought. Of course, you can see that's plugged in much deeper than it was before, and I think we'll go into our instrument cluster and clear that trouble code, make sure it doesn't reoccur, and then we'll go in and program our key again, see if this car will run. Hey y'all, this is really turning out to be a really great video. I know what the solution is, and it's a really cool solution, and this was a really layered problem. But it's becoming way too long of a video, so if you want to know the solution, you're going to have to watch us in part 2. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure and click the like button. And if you want to donate to the continued production of these videos, find the donate icon on my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And if you want to watch some more of my videos, there'll be one right up here and one right here. And don't forget to subscribe right there. Thanks for watching.